Recorded live in Balcatta, Western Australia, the Hoon capital of the world, this is Talkin' Power.
Gap is what happens when you hold to the floor and crush the man next to you. There's space in between your back bumper and your front bumper. We, in the South, we refer to it as the gap band.
Well, I think, Formula One is for grown-ups.
Shut the game on this one, Rex. It's the Bucks Ducks.
When we start following the most common battles and players, we're going to get down the chairs!
Just listen to please 51 words. Please, mate.
So, what about the sideways? You've got a race in your own lane. Now he's on the grass, he brings it back. Oh, some great driving there.
Torque and Power, your motoring and motorsport podcast.
C'è la luna brilla stretta, stretta come.
All right. Welcome to the Talk and Power podcast, episode 31. I am Nick DiCembra. I am with Simon Gonzo Travellini. How are you, mate?
Mate, fantastic.
That's good. Good to hear.
It's been a busy. I got to say, good call on your part. Switching it. We had that leap episode.
Yep.
The leap year episode. Because we're back on track with all the major events now, and it's fantastic.
Yep.
Having it all fresh, happening on the weekend, and then into it.
Yeah. No, well, that's. I had some criticism. Some people were expecting a podcast last week, but that's okay. We tied it in with the royal wedding.
Yes,
so
that's
quite
right.
important.
That's right. Now I got to know: did your wife make you watch it?
Yeah, she didn't make me watch it, but
she didn't make you.
She didn't make me watch it. No. But while we're here, what did you think of the Jaguar? Yeah, we're setting the mood for our podcast listeners.
In brackets E-Type.
Yeah, the E-Type from Concept Jaguar.
Now I know what E stands for. Of all these years, I've wondered, what does it stand for? Was it like, did he get to that part of the alphabet? But where was the B-Type and the A-Type? It stands for electric. Mate, I guess the theme park, Windsor, right?
Yeah, Windsor.
You got to have the electric cars to drive around in, don't you? Yeah. Every theme, but Disneyland, they've all got them. I mean, most of them have choo-choo trains and stuff like that. But what the hell? Why not an E-Type?
They said on the it was a left-hand drive as a tribute to Meghan Markle. I thought if they were doing a tribute to Meghan Markle, they would have left in a Camaro or something like that.
No, we've had this discussion off air. It would have been a Dodge Challenger. We all know that. Black Dodge Challenger with a 6-cylinder and lots of chrome. Hallelujah!
Anyway, I thought it was interesting. The boys arrived in a Mercedes Vito, in a glorified Vito. I thought that was interesting.
In a Vito?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I just saw the Bentleys or Rollers or whatever.
No, the two boys actually arrived in a glorified black Mercedes Vito. Lewis Hamilton must be really having an impression.
Yeah. Good point.
Rocking up in Mercedes-Benz. They couldn't rock up in an Aston Martin or something like that.
Was there any, rap competitions back at the...
I find it interesting. I think they got the Jaguar into it by as a tribute to the British. But there you go.
They made the comment that he's a big James Bond fan, and that was the decision. And I'm trying to think, when did James Bond ever have a Jag?
I can't remember.
It's Aston Martin.
Aston Martin. That's right.
Every bloody show he's got. I think he had a BMW in one.
Yeah,
had a BMW in one, and he had a Lotus in one.
Yeah, it was a Lotus Esprit.
Yeah, the submarine one.
Yeah, the one that went underwater,
but apart from that, they've been Astons, so I don't see the connection.
No. Anyway.
It would have been more of a Her Majesty's Stupid service if he was driving an electric. I mean, what's he going to do, pull over and charge up? Oh, come on, let's be realistic. It's James Bond. Maybe he's going to have rocket-propelled batteries or something. I don't know.
So there you go.
Anyway, but my favourite part, because I'm man enough to admit that my wife made me watch it. Did you like the Reverend?
I love the Reverend. It was reminiscent of the Blues Brothers.
It was. I was waiting for someone to do cartwheels straight down the aisle.
The light to come through and hit James Belushi and say, "I see the light. We gotta get the band back together." That's all I could think of anyway. No, it was interesting to say the least.
I was waiting for Prince Philip to say something because he normally has the best comments.
Well, anyway,
he probably, I could imagine he would have leant over to Queen Elizabeth and said, "Darling, why are the cleaners singing in the choir?"
Something so politically incorrect. Anyway,
he wouldn't have meant that. It's just his eyesight.
Yeah,
he's old.
He is old.
They're both old.
Jeez,
You know,
he's
it's
well into his 90s.
well into his 90s.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It looks all right for someone that's in his
They
90s.
look happy.
Yeah.
It actually brought me back to my wedding.
I am.
Yeah.
Which was almost exactly 1 year.
Almost 1 year, yes. And, had a bit of a tear going on.
Yep.
Gave my wife a hug and a kiss, told her how much I love her.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, speaking of British influence, Formula One, Spanish Grand Prix. We had a Mercedes lockout out the front. Lewis Hamilton setting the pace, getting pole from Bottas in number 2 spot.
You got to say, that Mercedes team is a well-oiled, well-refined team.
Yep, no doubt.
And you would not blame Daniel Ricciardo for going to Mercedes, would you?
I think it's logical. The heart wants him to go to Ferrari, but the head's telling me you got to go. You got to go to Mercedes. He can win the championship from the number 2 car at Mercedes. You can't not at Ferrari. I'm sorry. So, but it was an interesting race. We had.
You still honestly believe that if he went to Ferrari, he'd be in the number 2 car?
Yeah. Yep.
I'd like to think that that's not the case, and I honestly think that if he re-signs with Red Bull. He, whether he's winning or not, he's always going to be the number 2 driver.
Yeah.
Because they've just got a reputation of being that way towards particularly Australians.
Yeah, I agree. The Mark Webber speaks for itself, what happened there. But the reality is, of the 5 drivers, 4 of them are out of contract at the end of the year. So Lewis is actually out of contract, but I can't see him going anywhere. Bottas is out, and I can't see him.
Wouldn't you want to quit?
I think he's got more years left in him, Lewis.
Yeah,
I think he's found his mojo after this Grand Prix, to be honest.
I think that if I was in his position, I would call it quits. I mean, there is a good chance he's going to win this championship.
Yep.
So, leave on a high. You got the rest of your life to, do commentary, whatever, get the tats removed, whatever. He's got plenty of time up his sleeve.
He's got a 17-point lead in the championship now after this race.
I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I think that it's still open.
Yeah.
Things could change. But I don't know. I think... So the worst thing that you can do, as far as I'm concerned, as a race car driver, is stay in it that long that you become stale.
Yeah.
The guy that won a couple of years ago, I forgot his name now.
Nico Rosberg.
That's the one. See, I think that he pulled off the perfect manoeuvre. Got in there, won the championship, got out.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Got nothing to prove to anyone. Did it. Boop.
Yep. Anyway, I think that Daniel has a good shot from the number 2 car at Mercedes. He won't have that at Ferrari. Vettel is the only one in the 5 that is contracted next year. Raikkonen's out, Hamilton's out of contract. That is, Daniel's out of contract, so is Bottas. So I can't see Hamilton going anywhere, but I can imagine Bottas being removed and Daniel coming into the fray. But anyway, time will tell on that one. We had a crazy antics at the start of the race. Roman Grosjean was, I think, practicing for his debut in NASCAR, spun in front of the pack. And
it
just
was
kept
awesome.
His foot into it. And
It was a blaze of tyre smoke. It was incredible. As the podcast has gone on, I've been watching more Formula One and also the V8 Supercars and getting right into it. And I've got to say, I know it's off topic, but the Supercar highlights, Channel 10 has done an amazing job of editing out all of Mark Scave's stupid comments. I actually enjoy watching it because, you can tell he's just about to say something and then they cut to another scene.
jump 5 or 6 laps later.
So, hats off to whoever's in the editing department. You're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah. So, yeah, we had Roman Grosjean having a massive spin in front of the pack. Luckily, only took out himself and 2 other cars, Pierre Gasly and Nico Hülkenberg. They weren't terribly impressed. Can't blame them. We had another failure in the Ferrari on lap 26. I don't know if you remember this race 1 year ago. We had a young fan in the crowd.
Started crying.
Yeah. So he got to meet Kimi this weekend.
Yeah, I was at home crying.
The result was the same. We had another engine failure.
Well, I've got to ask though, right?
Yep.
Is there a link? Because whenever this kid seems to be at the race,
he's dropping out.
Yeah. So maybe we should sit him down and ask him to barrack for Lewis Hamilton. What do you reckon? Give it a crack. Reach out to him. If you're out there, right, save your tears for Hamilton.
Yep.
Okay.
Or Shane Van Gisbergen. I didn't say that. So, look, it was interesting pit strategy. I'm not convinced Ferrari haven't said it. Of course they're not. But Vettel pitted on lap 46 under the virtual safety car. That was a terrible stop. It was over 5.5 seconds, 5.7 to be exact. And that cost him any chance of the podium. But I reckon they were snookered into that pit stop because Mercedes balked at a pit stop at the same time. They pulled the Ferrari in, but Mercedes didn't come in, and I just can't help but think they were lured into that stop. It certainly cost Vettel a 3rd place.
Was there any reason that the stop took so long?
They're not saying no. I think it was just a poor stop.
Because I can't remember if it was Ferrari or one of the other teams a while back. They had a cross-threaded nut.
Yeah.
No,
this wasn't the case in this situation.
It was just a bad swap.
Yeah,
That's a long stop.
5.5 seconds. It was terrible.
But it shows you how on the ball you need to be as a team. That a couple of seconds here can cost you the race. It's just incredible.
Yeah, that's right.
Next race, Monaco.
Yeah, Monaco.
I'm looking forward to it. I know you don't think it's that, all that. We've had this discussion. But as far as I'm concerned, that is the track.
Yeah, okay.
You go under the bridge. It's just killer. It's awesome. Now, speaking of pit stops, V8 Supercars.
Yeah.
Right. I know, Rick Kelly winning, fantastic, top effort.
Yep.
I thought it was a bit unfair in race 1 what happened to Scotty because he led it wire to wire and they just freight trained him.
Wasn't the best restart for him, was it?
No, it was terrible because they got on the inside of the corner and they're all bumper to bumper.
Yeah.
You get pushed out onto the marbles, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, especially there. And the marbles are quite significant.
And that's exactly what happened. And there was nothing he could really do. He just got muscled out of the way.
Yep.
All credit to the Kelly boys. I think it would be a lot easier if you're running a Ford or a Holden because you've got the ability to get all that information that gets passed around between the teams. And, it's got to happen. The reality is if you're running with a Ford sticker on your car or a Holden sticker on the car, there's going to be a bit of cross-pollination, let's call it.
Yeah,
Yep. So those guys have had to do it all basically off their own back. And bittersweet at the end of the day with what happened with Nissen announcing that they're pulling out. A bit of a tragedy, but, you got to wonder, is someone taking this spot? Is Toyota going to be in there? Toyota's NASCAR engine could easily be, transformed into a V8 supercar engine. But nonetheless, as far as pit stops go, how good was the Shell team the next day?
Yeah.
What a brilliant... So for those of you that don't know, it was Scotty, wasn't it? He got called in. They pulled him in, changed the tyre, and put him out in clean air, and that allowed him to make up the time that he'd lost. It was a brilliant strategic move, and he ended the race in 3rd spot, didn't he?
Not on Saturday. That was Sunday.
On Sunday. That's what I mean.
Yep.
Top effort by those guys, and of course Fabian taking out the race as well.
So we had an all Kiwi podium.
Yes, it was.
Yep. So Greg Murphy had some joy with that, no doubt. So what do you think? The Nissen move is not one that I agree with personally. I thought that the Nissen would move on to the Nissan GDR in Gen 2 rules or the new rules of V8 supercars, sorry, but they don't see a future. They actually said that they never contemplated the Nissan GTR to be part of this grander plan.
I think that you need to take into account that when marques like Nissen build a car of that stature, it really doesn't need to compete to prove itself. And this is the unfortunate thing about motor racing now. I forget who it was that coined the phrase originally. I believe that it was Bob Tasker-Ford, and he said, "Win on Sunday, sell on Monday." I'm not 100% sure, but I'm led to believe that that's how it came about. Now, those cars back then, even in the early 60s with the Superstock sensation, the NHRA, they were pretty much factory cars. You know, the AFX has started to get away from that factory thing, but they still, resembled a factory car. And our old Group C cars, they had the flares on them, certain models, and, the bolt-on wings, but essentially they had factory drivetrain in them. Now we've got these things that are basically not far off a space frame with a skin draped over them. They have no significance to the road-going version whatsoever.
No.
There's no link, bloodline, or otherwise.
No.
So, is it important to win with these cars?
One would argue no.
Yeah, I don't. I think that we've completely, like the manufacturers really needed to step in a long time ago and say to the supercars, "Hey, boys, where's this going? Because I can see us all pulling out."
Yeah.
And I don't know, you still have the people, Ford, Holden, but the landscape's changing.
Yeah.
Okay, I get more inquiries for Nissan, like Skyline converters, BMW converters, people doing oddball gearbox conversions to European cars. So that Ford Holden thing, I don't know. I don't know how much longer it's going to be around, and I don't know whether, Eddie says quite often that he does what he does with the LSs and so on because it's relevant to today. And I think that the V8 supercar deal has really lost its, supercar deal has lost its relevance, and we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, it's exciting to watch. The racing's great, but to expect the factory to back it, those guys would be better off putting XY body shells on there and Monaro body shells, because I think, I don't think it would change the outcome. You know what I mean?
Anyway, it's interesting. Nissan are going to be forging ahead with Formula E. Believe it or not, they're putting their eggs in the Formula E basket, and also the Japan GT series as well, and the Nissan GTRs.
See, this is why I never understood the GT series at all, because you buy a Lamborghini because it's a Lamborghini, you buy a Ferrari because it's a Ferrari. You don't buy it because it's a good race car. And to be honest, having driven a couple of those types of cars, they're bloody awful road cars, let alone race cars. You can't see out of them.
The Garda you're referring
to?
Yeah. Okay.
Can't see out of them. The automatic clutch system that they run's crap. If it's got to go over the curb, you'll burn the clutch out of it, and it's 15 grand or whatever to do a clutch in them. So I never understood why, and I think it was one of those things that look at me, I'm racing a Lamborghini. They're probably cheaper to buy than the road-going versions. I don't think the GT4s and stuff like that, but I don't know whether the Porsche GT4s that they race are actually GT4s that they turn into race cars, or they're, some Porsche race car program car. I don't know. I don't know. No. But I just don't. I've never understood racing prestigious cars. It was different with Ferrari, because Ferrari, people don't realise this, well, a lot of people don't, that Ferrari didn't build road cars. They built race cars. There was a guy that used to work for Ferrari who migrated to America, and all the Hollywood stars wanted these fancy cars, and he went back and convinced Enzo, let me build a road car. And the next line of 250s and 330s and so on, 250 Californias, were all inspired by him, and I believe that family still owns the rights So they get a royalty for every Ferrari that's sold into America, still to this day.
All right, okay.
From this,
Yep.
this goes back to the 60s, 50s, whatever it was. So his primary focus was race cars.
Yeah.
And the whole Ferrari company, like the whole thing was based on race cars because it was originally Alfa Romeo and Enzo Ferrari took over running the racing team, and the SF that you see the prancing horse in the SF, it stands for Scuderia Ferrari, which is the stable of Ferrari. So he said to Alfa, look, I'll run this for you. You guys worry about building cars and we'll do this. And then that eventually morphed into Ferrari. But he had no intention of building road cars at all. He was just interested in race cars. So Lamborghini was different. He wanted to build road cars. He actually approached Ferrari and said to him, hey, your gear shift mechanism, shit, I've redesigned it. Because he was a tractor builder. Yeah. Right?
Still is.
It still is. There you go.
Yeah, they're part of the Deutz-Fahr group now, but yeah.
Nonetheless, he was all about the road car. You know what I mean? Maserati had racing heritage, but they tended towards the road car towards the end there. So it's kind of weird when you see Lambos and Ferraris racing. You think, are you guys idiots? You know what I mean? There's so many other cars you could be racing. You're racing those. Yeah. So that GT category, because the GT cars that they race at Le Mans, they're not, like they might have a badge on them.
Yeah.
That's off an Audi, but it's a purpose-built race car. It doesn't have any of the DNA of the road car. Maybe when they were running the diesels, the injectors might have been the same or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't know. I think a car like a GTR doesn't have anything to prove.
Yeah.
In the early days when they released them and they used them in the Group A series and so on, it was different because that really was... It wasn't the first GTR. The first GTR was a 2-litre naturally aspirated inline-six with, twin-throat carbies and or 6 single-throat carbies, whatever they were. But it was the first of that new era, and it was the first car that really bombarded us with all this technology.
Yeah.
And the latest version, mate, what an animal. I mean, you would probably buy the Porsche because it's a Porsche, but at the end of the day, you'd leave the dealership thinking, shit, I should have bought a GTR. Incredible piece of machinery. And the electronics in all these new supercars, Lambos and so on, they're all heading in that direction where it's more like I guess that, how you build simulators. They actually had a special on the V8s about Erebus's $100,000 simulator and how they can practice for tracks that they've never raced on before, right? Well, you're trying to simulate a real car.
Yeah.
I think that the cars now are trying to simulate the games in the way that they corner, because to think that you could do that is just unbelievable. I mean, this is a road car. This isn't something that's on slicks with huge wings creating 2 ton of downforce, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't think that cars like that really need to prove themselves anymore.
No. I agree with you.
And there are cars that have just come onto the market, or not that long ago, that have that kind of arrogance. Like, you wouldn't see a Pagani racing in the GC, would you?
No.
You know what I mean? Well, I got nothing to prove. Look at it.
Anyway, we'll see one more year with the Nissan Altima anyway, even though they're pulling out their interest this year. The Kelly boys have committed to another year with Nissan Altimas, and then after that it's they're open to discussions with different manufacturers, or they'll go back to what they know. Holden, I guess. Next race for the V8 Supercars is in Darwin, which is on the 16th and 17th of June.
Oh, it's good to see the Penske's up the pointy end again.
Yeah, it is. It is great to see. All right, MotoGP. What an awesome race! It was pretty well. It was awesome to a point, and then we got sort of taken away.
Look, once again, the MotoGP. It never ever ceases to bring an amazing spectacle to wherever it runs, and really make the locals. Like the racers just try their hardest when they're on their home track, and Zarco qualifying pole. What an incredible run.
Yeah, at home.
It's just unbelievable. But I tell you what, you know what I got out of this race. I mean, it was tragic what happened to Dovey, right? I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, Marquez got it given to him," but here's the reality. Okay, over the years of watching Valentino Rossi, I've seen him do some incredible things. Right? Dovey lost the bike. Like he was, what happened? He lost the front. It washed out on him. That was it. Game over. Okay. Marquez lost the front. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah,
he lost the front. He put his elbow down and stood the bike back up. Now, I'm not a Marquez fan, but credit where credit's due. That is like a Rossi-style move from, Rossi 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So he earned that race win. I reckon he would have been impossible to beat, even if the other guys hadn't. He had a killer strategy with the tyre. He went for the hard rear.
Yeah, he was hard.
So,
he was the only one that was on... I think he was the only one that was on a hard, actually.
I think you might be right, which meant that the race was going to come to him towards the closing stages.
Yeah, he was. He was the only one on a hard. Petrucci and Miller went for a soft, but the rest were on a medium and Marquez was on a hard.
I got to tell you, I think the strategy of going out on a soft and trying to make that early lead is flawed.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed that whenever they try to do that, because Zarco usually does this too, right? The other guys seem to find a pace. They pull it out of somewhere. It was great to see Rossi back on the podium. I think that Rossi needs stuff like that to stir him back up, to get him motivated again.
Yep.
And what a massive shuffle to the points.
Yeah.
Just an unbelievable, like, Dovey left leading the points a couple of races ago, looking like he had the championship in the bag, and now he's in like 9th spot or something.
Yeah, he's in, I'll tell you exactly. He has dropped down to 9th. We actually have in 2nd place, believe it or not, Maverick Vinales.
Yeah.
So he's just sort of been ticking away there, Maverick. But it's a substantial jump down to him, 36 points down from Marc Marquez down to Maverick.
The one that didn't surprise you was Ian Oney. Back to his standard Crash Bandicoot days. They call him the maniac. No, he's not the maniac. He's just straight out Crash Bandicoot.
Well, at least Alex Rins finished this race. He didn't fall off. He's fallen off 3 races in a row. Alex actually got to the end of this race. Pre-race, we had on the Friday, Andre Dovizioso. He actually announced, well, he didn't announce, but Ducati announced that he has signed for another 2 years. So he's locked away for 2 years. Jorge, however, has not. Probably going elsewhere, still unconfirmed. Jack Miller and Danilo Petrucci are in the box seat for that second Ducati ride.
Yep. I think Petrucci's going to take it.
Yeah.
That's my gut feeling. It seems like everyone's either going to KTM or Ducati.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's not a lot of action going anywhere else. KTM would be dollars, I reckon. Yep. They would be buying whatever they can get. In that standard Red Bull fashion.
Yeah.
That's how we do business. We'll just buy everything.
Look, Jack Miller did himself some favours, finished 4th on the weekend.
He did. Yes, definitely. Carl Crutchlow.
Oh, amazing, isn't it?
That crash.
Had a massive, massive crash. He actually spent the night in hospital.
Yeah, I know.
He was in hospital.
I know.
He went from hospital to the race and raced. It was
that crash was ridiculous.
I don't know if you realise he actually finished 8th in that race as well.
It was phenomenal. Just to be on the bike on the start line was phenomenal.
Yeah, yep. So it'll be an interesting end of season. Hopefully we get word on and where Jorge's off to. He hasn't said. Ducati haven't said that he's leaving either, but it doesn't look likely that he will stay. And they've also bought Andre Dovizioso up in remuneration. He was apparently getting paid significantly less than...
the rumour was that he was on 2 million and Jorge was on 14 or something like that. So, next race, Mugello.
Yep.
Rossi loves that track.
Yep.
So, fingers crossed.
Yep. Now, also, Marc Marquez, I've got a mistake in the notes, I'll put Dovey, but Marquez has equalled Casey Stoner's number of wins. He's now the 5th most winning rider in history.
Yep. He is.
And there's some notable names ahead of him.
Yep.
Which I think he'll probably cross off a few more.
Because you've got to keep those sorts of titles
Yeah, moving
going.
on to someone else.
Feel
That's
sorry
right.
for whoever intends on trying to beat Zaps, because they're probably going to have to start racing Door Slammer when they're about 10.
with $1 billion bank account.
$1 billion bank account.
Oh, speaking of $1 billion bank accounts, Keith Hanie, he's got one, but still couldn't get him qualified into the field for the Pro Mod meet that we just had in Topeka. That was rain delayed, actually. Finished today, that meet. So he debuted in NHRA, Keith Hanie, in his Pro Mod Nitrous Camaro with Summit Racing on board. Failed to qualify for the event, so the Duck took great pleasure in reminding him of that.
It's just incredible that Steve Jackson, first race meeting, NHRA, top qualifiers.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's right.
Street Outlaws,
Justin Shearer.
Justin Shearer, Big Chief.
Big Chief.
He couldn't qualify.
Nope.
Keith Hanie,
No.
Summit behind him. Plus, he's a multi-millionaire himself.
Yeah.
Couldn't qualify.
He's... Look, in saying that he couldn't qualify, he actually qualified in the 20th, but it was the... where was... This is on the other page, 21st, sorry. It was a 5.90. Remember that we're at 3,000 feet corrected altitude here at this meet.
And what was the bump?
The bump, good point, was 586. Yeah, so it was 4/100ths off. So
And what was the top qualifying?
top qualifier was Chad Green, actually, with a 5.762.
Now, I'd just like to point something out here, Nick. When you run nitrous, you bring
The
atmosphere in the bottle,
Yep.
right? Good nitrous conditions are high altitude ones. So, yeah, not sure what happened there.
Look, no, neither do I. But, I mean, look, I don't think he's scheduled to compete in all the events. But, look, good on Keith. I don't mind Keith. He's
listen,
done a lot for the
anyone
sport.
that's getting into Pro Mod,
Yeah.
you know. Unfortunately, our man Steve Jackson went out round one.
Yeah, it was a red light, actually. I forgot to put that in the notes, but it was a red light. It was an 013 red light to Sydney Freenose. So that was a bit disappointing for him. Nitrous car, Ricky Smith, he went all the way to the final and come up against newcomer Chad Green. Now, that's the first time these guys have actually met in eliminations.
Yeah.
Chad Green was a top qualifier. But, I mean, the track wasn't the best. We had a bit of rain on it the day before. There was a bit of a...
pedal fest.
Yeah.
Everyone loves a pedal
Yeah.
fest.
Yeah, no, it certainly was. So, yeah, we saw Ricky Smith get his second win for the year, actually.
Must be glad he's made the switch from pro stock to Pro Mod.
All right.
While we're on the Door Slammer, the European record got smashed.
It did, yes.
Now, this was some sort of outlaw event?
It was an outlaw event,
yeah,
no
right.
rules. It was 14 cars, actually, turned up for the event.
So, run what you brung?
Run what you brung, basically. There was absolutely no rules at all. And there was a gentleman by the name of Matthias or Vulcan. I assume that's how you pronounce his name.
Volcano Racing. Now, is he just by chance based in Hawaii?
No, he's actually from Sweden. He's from Sweden, believe it or not. And he's run a 5.53 at 262 mile an hour at the Santapod on the weekend.
Which just goes to show for all you turbo guys there, you don't need to run mile an hour to run ET.
No. No, that was a blown deal, that one. So very similar car, looks-wise, obviously. Not at all mechanically, but looks-wise to Zappia's US PDRA car.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
The 0.898 60 foot.
Yeah.
That's hauling the mail there.
That is incredible. I think that's... Now, Frank, who pointed this out to us, actually told me today that this track was just resurfaced, I think, 2 months ago.
Santapod.
Yes.
Yeah, righty,
Yeah,
eh?
very recently. So it's a very green, new surface on this track. So I think this is their first, maybe second meet.
That's incredible.
Yep, £10,000 to the winner. There was £75,000 paid out over the weekend across all
It's
brackets.
great to see Santapod, you know, obviously it's having a second life, I guess, like a revitalisation of drag racing in England.
No, that's right. Yep.
You know, for those of you that don't know, the quickest ever quarter-mile pass ever run was run at Santapod. Back in 1984, Slam and Sammy Miller set the world's quickest quarter mile time, 3.58 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, in his hydrogen peroxide Mustang funny car, hydrogen peroxide powered Mustang funny car. So the way it works is you have one chamber that's full of compressed air, and then another chamber that's full of hydrogen peroxide, and then you have the little rocket motor. And essentially, all the rocket motor is a bit of a like ball structure with a funnel at one end, and between the ball structure and the funnel is a thin silver mesh. When the hydrogen peroxide hits the silver mesh acts as a catalyst, and it expands. I'm pretty sure it's like 10,000 times or something. So you get this massive plume of basically steam coming out the back of it. So the way it works is when you flick the tap open, the air pressure pressurizes the vessel that's got the hydrogen peroxide, and then that sprays against the mesh, and then you get your thrust.
Yeah, okay.
And because you're pushing against the steam, it's like having a jet engine up against a wall. You don't have that, you know, the jets kind of take a while to get going type thing. You don't. It's just instantaneous. And yeah, I believe he ran a 1-something to the 8th, and like you said,
3.58 seconds. 386 miles an hour. That's actually 621 kilometres an hour.
And the thing is, Nick, that car was shut off because they only ever put enough fuel so that it's accelerating up to about 600 to 800 feet.
Yeah.
So that car shut off way early.
Yeah, and this is well, in real terms not that long ago, July 1984.
Yeah, 1984.
Yeah, okay.
So there you go.
There's a bit of history there for the people of.
And you know what? I think it's a time for all the radio guys to aim for.
Yep. Okay.
That's the quarter, not the 8th. Quarter.
Speaking of radio racing, Harry Haig, your friend Harry.
Harry.
You need to give him a plug. He gave you a good plug. I don't know if you've seen. You probably haven't.
No, I haven't.
He has. He has.
So, you know, like I said in the last podcast, I've been flat chat. One of the transmissions that had to be done and gone was Harry's transmission. So, Harry's been chipping away with this car for a while, but he's had a lot of bad luck, just really, literally bad luck. And we haven't been involved in the transmission side of things. And I spoke to Harry a while back, and I said to him, listen, I've got this new design Power Glide, right? We call it the Big Dog. We're going to release it, but I really need it to be in a car where I can just show people, and like, this is the deal. Now, Harry runs something very similar in Stevo, the Aussie Chevelle in the US. So he was a bit strapped for cash. You know, he does. For those of you that don't know Harry, he is a proper Aussie, right? Shepparton, and he works hard, and he doesn't have sponsors or anything like that. He does everything off his own back. He's got a great bunch of mates that help him, much the same as when we were racing back, in the Super Street days. You know, that camaraderie where they just get together and they do things. And they've built some amazing cars in the shortest amounts of time. It's ridiculous, you know. So this car now, it's got power from Terry Singh from Paramount Performance. It's basically the same engine that Harry's been running from the beginning, but Terry's gone and worked his magic on it. The headers from Kyle at 6 boost, and the turbos on it are nothing to write home about. I believe that it runs tubular arms, but still the factory suspension mounting points, and it is still all HQ, right?
Yeah.
It is not like a HQ shell draped over, and they genuinely drive this. As a piss take, instead of towing a trailer like everyone else with all this shit, and this is no bullshit, they tow a tinny behind this thing. Okay, so last year leading up to Drag Challenge, he ran a 780, and I sort of warned him that if that's a conventional shaft Power Glide, because our new Big Dog stuff, it's got custom, large shafts, and it really is designed for big horsepower, And this is from the years of working with transmissions like the mics and the BTEs and so on, and just saying, oh, yeah, that's really cool what they've done there. You know, I could use that idea. Okay, so the shafts in the Big Dog are Australian-made. They're not a US-made shaft. They're made out of a different material to what they use in the US. And I've specifically designed this so that everything's got the opportunity to flex. It doesn't have that severity like a lot of the alloys don't want to have that elasticity in them. Like they're strong, but when they get to that point, they just snap, right? And because of the tracks that Harry's going to be racing at in Drag Challenge, I really wanted it, you know, the best that it could possibly be. So, and the torque converter is the new X6 design. That the difference between the X6 and other torque converters that we've built in the past for these types of deals is we're trying to, with turbo cars, and you know, I know I always take the piss out of them, but at the end of the day, you know, I've been involved in this whole turbo scene for a very long time, a lot longer than, I mean, I'll be honest with you, when I started playing with the turbo type stuff, a lot of the people that are racing at the Motorplex now weren't even born yet.
Yes.
So, what I was trying to achieve is a torque converter that was very loose down low to help them get up on boost, and very tight up top, so that once they got on the converter, they wouldn't drive through it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the whole difference with the X6 compared to any of the other torque converters in the range. And basically, he got that transmission and torque converter only a few days before this event. He said that I needed it, you know, so basically I rang him up and I said, listen, we don't want to leave this to the last minute. We don't want, you know, like Drag Challenge is 2 weeks away. Let's get something happening. I got the bits together. We got the box done and sent. We also been working with Kyle Putland on, because Kyle owns a company that specialises in hydraulic valves. Yep. And Kyle had been playing around with some stuff that he wanted to test on his own car, converter dump and converter bleed system. And he'd sort of not abandoned the project, but didn't really need it, you know, with the setup that he's running. So I took over what he'd done, and then we added the bits and pieces that we needed to, and we've got this available as a kit now.
Yep.
Through Allfast. Now, Harry didn't even run it. So the bleed valve system, he's still got that available to him to fit to the car.
Yeah, okay.
So his biggest problem initially was that the front end was just, you know, going skyward, and he sent me some videos of that thing, like basically on the back bumper. So he was having to every run, and this is like, we're talking 7-second runs, right? Yeah. He was having to lift and then roll back into the throttle. So between, and I don't know whether he was taking the piss when he told me this. So on the first day of testing, he got it down to a 759 at I think it was 197 mile an hour, which is ridiculous. Can you imagine driving a HQ? Like he said to me, the back of the bonnet was open about 6 inches. Anyone that's ever owned a you know, Q to Z Holden would understand what that means, because the hinge setup is prone to doing that. The windscreen wipers were sort of floating in the air, and all the chrome mouldings were flicking off the car. Right. So he said to me that they were going to drill the shocks, and I don't know whether he was taking a piss or not, right? But knowing the way he is, it doesn't surprise me, right? They were going to drill the shocks, drain the oil out of them, fill it up with some diff oil to stiffen the front shocks up to try and control the wheel standing. Yeah. So whatever they did, the next day the car went to 740 at 190 mile an hour. So for those of you that don't speak Imperial, that's 306 kilometres an hour in a HQ Holden.
Really, it really is incredible.
A 4-door HQ Holden. So fingers crossed, this year's Drag Challenge, he's got all the heebie-jeebies out of the system and everything's debugged. And, you know, let's just... I'm just praying, you know.
I could stand corrected, but I thought on the 740 he actually the car didn't pull up as quickly as what he anticipated and went into the gravel.
Okay, so
And he punctured a front runner as well.
he possibly would have. I don't know.
It definitely did go in the gravel. I know
Okay,
that.
so what happened was that after he ran the 750, right? I'd gotten off a phone call to Biage actually, and I'd gone to call someone else, and my phone locked up. Right.
Yep.
Now, I couldn't, for those of you that know the Apple product, you can do a forced restart. You have to hold the top button down while you hold the button on the face down. Okay, my top button broke a few months ago. So I had a blank screen, and the thing would ring and do everything, but I couldn't answer it. So I haven't spoken to Harry. I took the phone in, got it fixed on Sunday, right? And this was my weekend in the last couple of days, right? So Sunday 3 a.m. I wake up, right? Cold sweat, freaking out, okay? My late father's house, there's a wall, and any brickies out there, they might be able to, fill me in on why this has happened, okay? There was a wall, or it's still there, most of it's still there, some of it's still there. There's a wall that's been slowly eroding. It's made out of solid bricks. Now, that house is probably, 50 years old, 60 years old, something like that. 1950, somewhere around there it was built. And this retaining wall is double brick, and it's made out of solid bricks. And these bricks have been eroding, like turning into powder, okay? Now, I've been living with my wife, for a couple of years now, and I hardly ever go past there, And I just had this overwhelming thought that I've got to go and check that wall. So I got dressed, drove out to Bayswater, and it had eroded so far that it's gone through both layers of bricks, and the sand has started to come. Yeah. So basically, we got some heavy rain coming up, right? That wall's going to go, okay? So I all right, what am I going to do? So I started formulating a bit of a plan, okay? So on the Sunday, I took the phone in to get repaired, and yesterday I drilled into the ground and fitted some Rio bar, and I've built this entire lattice that goes a full length. This is a bloody big wall, by full length of this wall, and drilled into what's left of the brickwork, right? And then with all Rio bar, 16mm Rio bar, and then I've put the concrete mesh and welded that to that as well. And then today, an old mate of mine, Ray, used to drag race. He had the VK Commodore, or it was a VH Commodore, the VK front and back. There used to be the Genie car.
Oh, yes, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So he's been out of racing for a few years. He's scrutineered down there and worked down at the track. He rang me up about a converter because he wants to get back into racing, and we're having a chat. And I said, "Look, I'm pretty busy at the moment." And he said, "Do you want a hand? I've done form work." So today we formed it all.
Yep.
And beautiful job. Like, I think it is. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not a form worker. I've been really lucky that I know a few concreters. I spoke to Al McClure, and he filled me in on how it all works, because the MPA is the density of the concrete, and then the number before 20, 16, 10, whatever, is the size of the aggregate, right? So I've ordered my mix 10mm aggregate, 40 MPA, right? And we're pouring the concrete tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, it's a big deal. Like, I've never done this kind of stuff before. I was really blown away that we actually got all the formwork done, and, because I kind of dreamt it up on the spot. So, my point is, I haven't had a chance to talk to Harry. I've actually been sending him photos of the retaining wall in the progress, because he wanted to have a bit of a chat, and I said, dude, like, I got to get this done. And I knew we had we're recording tonight as well. So, and in amongst this, I've still got a few jobs to get out before the end of the week. So, I didn't know that had happened.
Yeah, definitely went into that. I can confirm. He's got a photo of his crew, and they're posing in the gravel trap, and it's in deep. It's indeed.
That's incredible.
But it's punctured the front runner as well.
Yeah, well, that's...
So he did get it. Someone borrowed lent him a front runner, and they got the car back out again, but they missed a couple of... They must have, in the cleanup, they haven't collected all the gravel out of the car, and the gravel's gone under the tyres and it's gone a bit loose, so he's got out of it. But they would have probably improved on that 740, no doubt.
Well, I don't know, because all these records, particularly with the radial guys, really confuse me. But I think Terry was kind of, everyone would used to say that was Australia's quickest street car at a 737. I believe that Ferroni has run a 720 recently here.
Yep.
So, looking at how... I mean, that's 4/10, right? Now, I'm not going to take all the credit with the converter and the trans, but, I told him when we were doing this, I just want to give you something that's you're not going to have to worry about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing with these types of cars. If you can do lap after lap after lap and chip away without having reliability issues, then, it just makes your life a bit easier. So fingers crossed, because, I mean, it would be crazy to see a HQ 4-door run a 6.
Oh, that's out of control.
But, I just, if someone had told you that an untubbed factory-ish suspension HQ... I mean, you just, so we must keep an eye on this.
Yeah, watch this space.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. And the other thing is, I've got to catch up with Zap and get his comments on this, because that is just unbelievable. You know what I mean? Anyway, big credit to the guys, and fingers crossed they don't have anything crazy happen for Drag Challenge this year, and we have got to try and get over there. We've got to try. I see that Scott's in the 11s now.
Yes, yeah.
So
well and truly into the 11s.
When we come back with the Camry, we've got to make sure we're into the 11s.
All right. Just following up on our podcast from last week, I haven't had a response from 400 Thunder, but I'm not surprised. So anyway, they will conclude the Winter Nationals on the 7th and to the 10th of June at Willowbank Raceway. I think that's a long weekend over there for the Queenslanders. So,
the Andrew Championship's been decided.
Yeah, look, it was probably it was decided some time ago, but the points have been updated just not that long. Craig Geddes in comp. Jim Ioannidis, Super Stock. Comp Bike, Tony Frost. Top Sportsman, Jason Arbery. Supercharged Outlaws, Justin Russell. Modified, Matt Snoozy. Super Sedan, Peter Tzakis. Super Street, Harry Harris. Mod Bike, Danny Ricard. Junior Dragster, Bradley Bishop. Super Gas, Graham Spencer.
Not one champion from WA.
Yeah, the WA contingency, I think our best was Alan Mankoff in Supercharged Outlaws. I could stand corrected, but he was probably 3rd or 4th in Supercharged Outlaws. But the rest, we clearly chose not to travel.
I have it on good authority that our mate Marty Mirko is going to travel next season.
Okay.
So
I could stand corrected. I think Marty may have come 4th as well in Super Sedan. I could stand corrected on that, 4th or 5th in Super Sedan. So if he does travel, that's great, because I think he'll give him a run for his money, no doubt.
I think he will too. I think he will.
Yep.
And, those guys, man, they're a top team.
Yeah.
They're nice guys. The car is immaculately presented,
Yep.
And
it's a beautiful car, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's kind of what's starting to get missing out of the sport is cars like that basically it's a show car that gets raced.
Yeah.
To keep a black car looking that good.
Interested in what we're talking about, I urge you to read Drag News that just came out. I got my edition today. Luke Newhoff, in his editorial, writes a very interesting piece on where we're at the moment between Andrew and 400 Thunder. Very well written from Luke. We expect
always well written.
And agree 100%, Luke, with you if you're listening. Agree 100%. I'll just leave it at that. Or people can read it. Go to his website, dragnews.com.au, subscribe and get it sent out to you.
Awesome magazine.
Yeah.
The quality is just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, and he puts it together mostly himself as well. And an article and good friends of ours, Matthew and Steph Galotto in there as well.
Yep.
So,
Excellent.
Good reading.
So, big news. Ford.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting, but I can understand why they're doing it. This is North America.
You know what it is, Nick? It's the rise of soccer.
Is it?
It's causing it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please tell me.
Well, the soccer mum.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, of course. The
soccer mum.
It's all right.
It's, this is the thing. Well, when I was young, I played soccer.
Yeah.
Right? When I was young, and I copped it. That, like, it's not real football. And I'm thinking, AFL, like, you guys holding the ball with your bloody hand. And you're criticising football, soccer, saying it's not football.
I played soccer too, actually. I used to go. Friend used to pick me up.
What's happened? Right? The world game, blah, 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 this, that, and the other, right? Okay, so we've seen more and more of the soccer mums.
Yep.
Right? Internationally.
Yeah.
Internationally, because it's the world game. Right? So the soccer mum influence is international. And Ford's gone, well, you know what? We've just got to cater to soccer mums. Got to build SUVs. Now, SUVs shit me, right? If you've parked next to one at a shopping centre...
I don't get them.
Anyway, if you park, like, young Nicholas, we like to get out and about. We need to be able to open the door to get the capsule out, right? If it was up to me, I'd get my missus to hold him in her arms, but that's illegal in this country, Seems to be fine in China. Bali, they're allowed to ride on scooters, but here... Anyway, so... You park next to a bloody SUV, you can't open the door, right? You're stuck behind one in traffic, you can't see. If you've got to turn right, you can't see if there's anything coming, right? What we need is an SUV tax.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we need. So anything that's got a tyre that measures more than 26 inches in diameter, right, should pay an extra $10,000 reg over a year. You think 10's too much? So for those of you that don't know or haven't heard this, right, Ford has announced it's cutting its passenger car line down to just two models, the Mustang and the Focus, by 2020. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah. This is North America.
Yeah, but so what are we going to get? Rebadged?
You'd have to... The Mondeo will still come out of Europe, but that's all we're going to get. We can't get anything else. Mondeo.
Jim Hackett.
So
another
in
bloody
all of
Hackett.
This, in all of this, we lose the Fiesta, no big loss there. The Focus, the Fusion.
Why are they going to race in NASCAR?
That'll be interesting. It'll be the Mustang. Yeah, and the Taurus is gone as well. So, yeah. So now, when I say Focus, they are running with the Focus Active, which is a more of a crossover car that would be more comparable to the Subaru XV. So it's a higher clearance Focus. So, an SUV.
An SUV. We get drummed into us about how important fuel efficiency is and,
Yeah.
SUVs, a brick on wheels.
Yeah.
Really fuel efficient. Speaking of which, I had a thought the other day. Okay, so, you know me, I like to research things and that, okay. So and if there's... I'm actually thinking about ringing up Triple J on Thursday and posing this question to Dr. Carl.
Yep.
Right? Okay. So listen up on Thursday. You might hear the gons on Triple J.
What time will that be?
I think he's on around 11 or 12, but
Okay.
I've got to ring earlier because it's WA. But don't hold your breath because usually what happens is my plans gets changed for me. Who knows? Tomorrow we might be pouring the concrete and the concrete might end up all down the driveway when the formwork gives way. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen. Anyway, and correct me if I'm wrong here, okay? From my understanding, okay, we are told that the oil and coal, right, that we are burning now, okay, that's causing us all these carbon problems, greenhouse effect, climate change, etc., etc. Yeah?
Yep.
That oil and coal, gas, etc., were made from decomposing forests, right? Millions of years ago.
Yep.
During the dinosaur era. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
We're all agreed on this, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So, plants form themselves, like their structure, from using photosynthesis, taking carbon dioxide out of the air, right? And combining it with water, and that's how they build their carbon structure, right? So, if they were able to collect all that carbon back then, right, doesn't it stand to reason that that carbon was in the air?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I never thought of that, but yeah, you're right.
Well, this is the thing. Everyone I pose this question to goes, yeah, that's a good point. It must have been in the air for the plants to get it. So... And you know, like you know me, and you know that I'm pro the environment, and you know, I don't vote green, right? I'm not even going to vote red or blue. Actually, I've got a funny story to tell you. I was in a teleconference with Bill Shorten,
Okay.
Labor leader Bill Shorten. Yeah, funny story. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that in a sec, right? But anyway. So, you know, I'm pro the environment. I'm all for reducing emissions and so on and so forth. But if that's true, that all that carbon dioxide was once in the atmosphere, right, and these plants sucked it up, and then whatever happened, they got buried, got turned into oil, coal, gas, right? By us burning it, aren't we restoring the atmosphere to what it was before?
Logic would have you correct, but I don't profess to know.
I can't explain it any other. Like I've sort of, you know, I've asked some people that I consider to be pretty smart, and they've gone, well, you know, it just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, is there no one with any logic that's, you know, I'm not arguing that the climate's changing. I definitely feel that it's getting hotter, and in amongst doing this research. It turns out that the bloody hole in the ozone layer is above Australia.
Yeah.
And it's getting bigger, right? Apparently, without dropping any names, like Russia or China, some of the countries have been cheating and still using the ozone-depleting gases in their products.
Yeah.
So it sucks, because I remember as a kid, I didn't used to burn as easily as I do now. You know, it's ridiculous. I get less burns from welding. You know, I've been welding all yesterday, and I'm fine. You know, it feels a little bit, you know, but it's fine. Anyway, so Bill Shorten. Okay, so I was selected. This is a true story. I was selected. Right, I'm going to upset a lot of people, offend people by talking about this, but it's got to be done. Right, I was selected to be part of this teleconference with Labor leader Bill Shorten. Right? I don't know how they got my phone number, but they contacted me and they said, you know, will you be part of this? Yeah, all right, no worries. Now, I was flat chat, right? I was at work. It was like 7, 8 o'clock at night, and they ring up and they go, you know, and I can hear Bill Shorten talking in the background, you know, he's going on. And I'm listening, and I'm listening. He's talking about all the things that he's going to do if, whatever, he becomes, you know, the Prime Minister, right? And you had to go like #3 or something, or *3 or something, if you wanted to ask a question, right? So I did it, and then I waited, and it was like another hour went by before they finally got to me, okay? And by this time, like, I'll be honest with you, right? Before this teleconference, I was all for voting for Bill Shorten, and I'll explain why. Okay, we just had, or we're still in the middle of the Royal Commission into banking.
Yeah.
Okay. No one's going to jail.
No.
Right? No one's getting their money back. Like, you might get a little bit back, but compared to how much profit they've made, and the fines that they should be paying, and how much compensation they should be paying, no one's getting it back, right? And then to really slap us in the face, Malcolm Turnbull, right, turns around and in the budget makes it illegal for people to pay for stuff with cash money. I don't know if any of our listeners have cottoned onto this, but if you are involved in a transaction over $10,000 cash, right, which all the performance car industry, right, not that, like when we receive cash, we bank it, we put it through the books, right? But if you go to buy a car, you want to buy a Falcon, Commodore, whatever, it's commonplace for people to bring cash because that's the deal done, right? It's not this shake hands and then, I changed my mind, mate. That's it. Cash talks. You know what I mean? They say that that's the deal. Cash talks. Bullshit walks. Cash talks. Right? Now it's illegal to do that, and you can both go to jail because they're trying to clamp down on drug dealers. That's what it's all about. It's all about drug dealers. That's Malcolm Turnbull making sure that we don't go back to the days of our parents and our grandparents when they used to bury the bloody money in the backyard because they didn't trust the banks.
That's right.
Right?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so, and there's some other changes that he's making to the banking system, and what's going to happen is, if he gets all these changes through, and there's going to be bipartisan support, sadly, because, at the end of the day, Liberal and Labor, I don't think there's a lot of difference. They should just merge, But there's going to be bipartisan support. They're actually going to change the laws so the banks can freeze your accounts if they need the money. So if everyone decides tomorrow, we want our money out, they can just freeze your account. Go, no, you can't have it. What do you mean? It's mine, right? So by bringing this $10,000 cash rule, Turnbull has made sure that he stitched this up well and truly. So we're all shitty at the banks at the moment, thinking about going, you know what? Maybe I just bury my money in my backyard. Can't do it. Now, go to jail. Go to jail, right? So I was going to vote Labor anyway, because I figure this guy is, he hasn't just, stitched this, because the deal with the Royal Commission is if you give evidence, we're not going to press any charges against you, right? What's that? What's that about? Yeah, I killed your family, yeah. No, you can go, it's good, We all know now. It's all right. It's out in the open. Anyway, so I'm listening to Bill Shorten, and this guy finally gets on, right? And he goes, where are you calling from? From Perth. Well, we're in Perth. What, the electorate of Perth? Which, by the way, idiot, is Cowan. But anyway. I said, well, mate, I don't understand what you're asking me because I don't, have a map of my electoral boundaries in front of me, right? And I said, you're talking to me like I'm some sort of thug or something, you know what I mean? Which I am, but he doesn't know that. It's on the other end of a phone line, And I said, I thought that, I got to ask him a question. Or what do you want to ask him? And I said, you know what, mate? I've been on the phone for 2 hours listening to this bullshit, right? I've heard you talk about disabled pensioners. I've heard you talk about single mums. I've heard you talk about refugees. Jesus, even bloody sheep got a mention, right? But I haven't heard one bloody word about honest, hard-working Australians, right? We are the silent majority. And you and Bill and Malcolm don't give a shit about any of us.
Yep.
So you know what? This is what I want to ask Bill. I want to ask him how he wants me to because neither of these two idiots, blue or red, they're all green. I'm not going with RGB, no chance. No chance. I'm going to find whoever the independent is that's not giving their preferences to any of these idiots, and I'm going to vote for them. And I'll tell you what, to all our listeners out there, you need to share this and tell people about this because in this country, unless you're right, unless you're a sheep, right, unless you're a disabled pensioner or some pensioner of some description, except an elderly pensioner, right, you got to be like a dole bludger, a druggo, something like that. You get shafted. That's the way it is over here.
Yep.
That's just how it is. Honest, hard-working Aussies, small business people, we don't get anything. Bill Shorten's talking about, I'm going to stop the tax cuts for the big business people. Yeah, that's all right. What about the little business people? Because the reality is, even though BHP and Rio Tinto employ tens, hundreds of thousands of people. If you sat down and added up all the people at small businesses, my size or my brother's size, employ, we employ way more than those companies.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit about us.
All right, on that note, I want to go out with this come across my desk on Friday. Well, no, it was on the weekend. This is Kyle Busch, Friday, a post-race, the NASCAR truck event. He owns his own NASCAR truck. Let's have a listen to Kyle Busch post-race press conference.
My pit crew did absolutely nothing to help me out tonight. And these splitters are absolutely horrendous. You can't pass in traffic, you can't race alongside anybody, you can't get within 5 truck lengths of no one. But somehow, some way, I was able to get back to the front. Had a blast.
He threw his crew under the bus there, didn't he?
I'll tell you what, if you're part of his crew, you just want to get the half-inch ratchet and put it through the windscreen of his truck. I tell you what, there's Kyle Busch. All right, on that note, thanks for coming in, Simon. We need to thank a few people. All Fast Torque Converters, Monster Torque, Overboost, Benzene Detailing, WA Suspensions, Shift Kits Australia, Taps Race Pipes, CRD Nitrous, and a shout out to a friend of yours, Aaron Tipper. He's helped us out with some parts as well, Aaron. So
Aaron is a legend.
Yeah, so thanks, Aaron. iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, Stitcher. You can get this podcast. Go to YouTube as well if you want to watch the video version. It's all normally up a few days later. All right, Simon, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us, Nick.
No worries.
See you on the street. Talk and Power stresses all characters and events on this podcast, even those based on real people, are entirely fictional. All celebrity voices are impersonated poorly. We do not encourage street racing or the use of turbochargers.